Hello, this is Lorena, and I wanted to make a paper piece pattern. I'm going to use this pattern at the Sweet Honeybee, so I need to make a video for them just in case I get confused and lost. And you know, paper piecing can be a little bit complicated. You like my quilt? It's beautiful. So let's get started. Alright, you're going to need a pattern, Elmer's glue stick, an add a quarter ruler, some scissors, and a card because you're going to be folding paper. I also find some scraps that will fit the size of your pattern. When you're doing paper piecing, it's numbered for you. What I'm going to do is trim this down to just this square and then this square, and then we're going to get started. When you see me trimming down, I'm giving myself like a 1/4 inch extra space here, because then after you're done with that, you're going to trim the block down. But it's just to get rid of some of the bulkiness. This is the bottom of the balloon, and then I'm also going to trim a 1/4 inch all the way around. I'm using an old rotary blade. So when you're working on a paper piece pattern, you're kind of working backwards. And so you want to get a piece of fabric that's wide enough to go all the way around your piece right here. But you're going to put your fabric on the back of it. And so sometimes I use an Elmer's glue stick, well, I always use, and that's my starting piece. You want it to go, and then you kind of put it to the light. And then like I could see to the front if it takes up that whole space. You're going to get your card and you're going to fold your piece over. And then you have your add a quarter ruler, and you're going to go ahead and mark or trim off. And now you have a 1/4. I'm also going to rotate my fabric around and do the same thing on the other end. So I'm going to fold up. I'm going to add my add a quarter ruler. What I do is I'm going to fold right here. And I'm going to do another add a 1/4. So I kind of get everything prepped. And I roll this up. And now I'm going to add, cut up, or find my second piece, which will be right here. So here I have a piece that's wide enough to go all the way across here. All the way across. But I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to face both my fabrics, and I'm going to kiss them. Since I already have an add a 1/4 here, now I'm able to just make sure that the add a 1/4, and then I look at the shadowing and I could see that it goes across enough, and I'm going to hold it here for a second, flip it, don't move it, and I'm going to go ahead and sew right here. So here's my sew seam, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this upward. Now you can iron, but what I like to do is get that handy dandy Elmer's glue. Oh wait, before I do that, I'm going to fold this down. You see how I did that? We're going to do the add a 1/4 again, and we're going to trim off all the excess fabric right there, so it's not too thick. Let me close my rotary before anybody says anything to me. Then I'm going to go ahead and just pull it up on the shadowing of its spot, and nice, and have it nice and kind of stuck there. So we're going to do the same thing again. I'm going to pull this over like I did last time, and we're going to trim off any excess that was created by adding. Pull this over. I'm going to add a 1/4. So now we're going to fold this right here, because we're going to do 3. We're going to fold her over. Let me see if I get it right. Stay on that black line. Push. My friend does some of these, and they're laminated and they're wonderful. And we're going to add a 1/4. We're going to get rid of all of this excess material. So we're going to fold this up. Now we're going to find a piece that's big enough to go here. I'm going to make sure that it goes across at least a 1/4 inch. But I like making it bigger just in case I go out of line. So now that I have an add a 1/4, which I did right there, I'm going to kiss these fabrics together, facing each other, and I'm going to go to the sewing machine, flip my paper and sew on this line. You see the sewn piece, I'm going to flip her over, but we're going to trim the excess if we have to. It could be just right. No, it's just right. So now we're going to flip her over. Your stitches decreased. Instead of 2.5, decrease them to 2 inches. That's what I do mine. So now I'm going to flip this, and I'm going to flip this. I flipped it here so I could trim off there, but I'm going to wait. I'm going to get this piece right here, and I'm going to roll it back. I'm going to trim off all that excess material because you're adding your quarter seam right there. Then I'm going to rotate her to this side, get my piece of paper. I'm going to rotate her right there. I did these 2 sides. Now I need to do this panel here, just like that. And we're going to trim off any excess. So now we're going to add another color. I'm going to put it right here. So I'm going to flip my paper, have my fabric go across all the way, just so I got my fabric and just faced it. So here you see I sewed the seam, and here's the sewn seam. I'm going to pull her up, and I'm going to get a little bit of Elmer's glue. And you just need a tiny bit. And this is Wash Away Elmer's glue stick. The reason I like it is because it makes everything stay in space, in its space. Now I'm going to fold this down. There you go. Add a quarter ruler. Trim off the excess. Then we're going to also do the sides. I'm going to teach this at the Sweet Honeybee, and my daughter said, "Can you please do a video?" I said, okay. Because, you know, just in case we get lost, we have something to go by. So then I did this, so now we're going to add a piece here, a piece that I know will go all the way across. So now that I have added my add quarter here, I also know that I could just sew right there. I'm going to go ahead and go to the sewing machine and sew that part. So here you see that it's sewn, and here I literally butted the fabric right to its spot. Then I'm going to get a little bit of Elmer's glue just on this edge, pop her in. And just like we trimmed these sides, we're going to do that again, because I did have a whole bunch of excess right there. Funny thing is, it's already folded for me, so I just have to kind of go along and refold, get rid of this excess. And then this is my new fold. I'm going to get this fold. I'm going to fold it like that. And do you see how all that fabric? And now we're going to trim that sucker down. There you go. But now we're going to add this piece. What color should we add? Ooh, ooh, ooh. Now it's here. Now I'm going to turn it around and make sure I have enough space. And I want to make sure that this is big enough to cover the whole section here. So here's my pieces sewn, number 5. Now I'm going to flip this up. Have some Elmer's glue right there. Just a little dab will do. Okay. So then now what we're going to do is, just like we were doing here, we're going to trim off any of this excess. We're going to trim off the excess here. So now we've done all the colors, just like that. Now we need to add whites, which is your sky. Remember how you trimmed it here? You're also going to want to add a quarter to this end right here. Do you see that? Grab your ruler. Grab your ruler. add your quarter. So here's my fabric. I'm gonna go ahead, dab of Elmer's glue. Dab, dab, dab. So this is this end. So then I'm going to fold this down, trim this edge off. And the same kind of process, just like you did all the other ones, you're gonna do the exact same thing. I'm gonna get this piece of fabric, this fold. So you're folding a lot. And so here's my fabric for this one. Now I'm gonna do the same thing. I have my 1/4 inch seam right here. I'm gonna align my 1/4 inch seam to this area here. It's good to just kind of let your fabric expand itself. It's fine. I'm gonna rotate it and I'm gonna sew right there like I sewed right here. Here you see I sewed right there. I'm gonna fold my fabric over. Like I said, it's a good, nice, chunky piece. We're gonna fold this down, trim this off. Trim this up. Just like that. So here's, let me get my Elmer's glue so I can dab it. Just like that. We're gonna do these 2 areas right here. So what I did is the same exact process as I was sharing with you. A big enough piece on the corners, you fold it, get your add a 1/4, and then you just kind of sew it down. So this is the last piece. Remember, since we've been trimming off all of this, now you have this. So I'm gonna go and flip it and we're gonna just sew all the way down. And I'm gonna get some Elmer's glue here. Just a dab-a do. Dab, dab. I'm gonna get my ruler that I just made and trim off this section, trim off this top section, just like that. Now you have, so I'm gonna also put this on this side since it's another piece, and I'm gonna sew right there just like I did. So every time you add a 1/4, you know exactly where to put your fabric. That Elmer's glue really does help too. So I just sewed it. You can see the sew line. I'm gonna pull this fabric back a bit and add a little Elmer's glue. A dab will do. Dab, dab, dab. I love that. I get that from Christine because I love her. Then I trim all this down. And so this is the top of your balloon. Same exact process here. If you can see, there's put a dab of glue there and have it facing. Remember those folds? I'm gonna fold here, and fold all these opposites. So then, here's my little square. So it says 1, 2. So 2 is the sky. So I have my little piece of sky here. So now that I already have my add a 1/4, right here, I'm just gonna lay it down and sew on this line. Get my little Elmer's glue and dab it up there. Now we're gonna get another piece of this beautiful fabric. And you want this out of the way, and that's why I like the Elmer's glue. Kind of tacks it down. Now this one is a piece that's gonna go down here. So this piece right here is for this area. So since I already did I added my quarter, I know where I can lay my fabric down. I'm gonna hold it, go to the sewing machine and sew it. So here's this piece that I just sewed. I'm gonna put Elmer's glue, a little dabble do, and then I'm gonna move this down. So now that we have these two pieces, and I kind of do this on purpose, I could trim off. Remember how you have that fold right here? Could trim it down, add a quarter ruler, and trim off. Let me see. Let me straighten that fabric out. Trim off all that excess. I'm also going to do, did I add a quarter? I didn't add a quarter. That kind of, oh, it's okay. Whatever. Fold here. Long enough and wide enough. However you want to see it. So since we already did add a quarter, I'm going to put my fabric here. And I'm going to sew on this line. I'm cutting it close there. I'm cutting it close. All right, let's sew. So now that I've sewn this, I'm going to dab it. I'm going to do a streak. Nice and flat. Did I do it on the right side? Yeah, this fabric's so hard sometimes to see if you did it on the right side or not. Now I'm going to do this opposite piece. So there's my sew line. Pull the fabric. There's an Amber's glue. A dab will do. So then, now you see this piece, and now we're going to get a ruler, and we're going to trim everything down. Remember when we first cut it, I said to give yourself like a little ledge or a little bit of working room. Now this line right here is your 1/4 inch seam allowance when you're adding block to block. Now I'm going to trim right here. And this is, we're going to sew that together. So what I do is I tend to get a needle here, get a needle here, so that it's lined up where I want it to line up. Then I do it again with another needle. See right there? Now I'm just going to sew all the way down right there. So now that I've sewn this piece together, you're going to fold this out, and now you have your balloon piece. What I like to do is open, I hate open seams to be honest, but because you have the paper and you have all this that's going on, I go ahead and I open it so it's not so bulky, and now you have your balloon. Isn't that beautiful? I should have used all white, but I want to be different, okay? So it's scrappy, it's fine. This, you can do any paper piecing. It's the same exact process all the way through. This is what it looks here on the pattern, and this is what it looks here on the front. Ain't she lovely?